Imagine this. A man walks into 221B, Baker Street, visibly distressed. Before he even speaks, Sherlock Holmes glances at him and says, "You're a doctor, recently returned from military service, stationed in Afghanistan. You injured your shoulder in battle and are now struggling financially." The man, Dr. John Watson, is stunned. "How on earth did you know that?" Sherlock shrugs. "Elementary, my dear Watson." But was it elementary? Not at all. It was the result of keen observation. Sherlock noticed how Watson carried himself, his upright military posture, but with a slight stiffness in one shoulder. He saw the medical books in his bag and the tan lines on his hands, suggesting he had recently been somewhere sunny. In addition to his worn-out clothes and hesitant manner, the picture was clear: a former army doctor struggling to adjust to civilian life. This is the power of practical observation. But how do you develop this skill yourself? Let's break it down. But before we continue, visit our website and check out our courses to master observation skills and body language and be able to use your observation skills. Link at description. Most people think they are observant, but they are just making assumptions. There's a crucial difference between observing something and interpreting it. Observation is simply noticing facts. This person is fidgeting with their hands. They haven't spoken much. They keep glancing at the exit. Interpretation is giving meaning to those facts. Are they nervous? Do they want to leave? Are they hiding something? The problem is that many people rush straight to interpretation without gathering enough observations. This leads to false assumptions. For example, if you see someone checking their watch repeatedly, you might assume they're bored, when in reality, they could just be expecting an important phone call. Sherlock Holmes never jumps to conclusions too quickly. Instead, he carefully collects observations before making deductions. And that's precisely what you should do too. To develop Sherlock-like observation skills, follow these 3 steps. White heavy checkmark 1. Be present and pay attention to details. Most people are too distracted by their thoughts to observe. Train yourself to notice everything: clothing, body language, facial expressions, tone of voice, and environment. A good exercise is to sit in a cafe and challenge yourself to notice 5 things about each person you see. White heavy checkmark 2. Establish a baseline. Before interpreting someone's behavior, you must know what's normal for them. If someone is usually loud and energetic but suddenly quiet, that's a clue. But it doesn't mean anything unusual if they're always calm. Sherlock Holmes always looks for changes, not just isolated actions. White heavy checkmark 3. Observe first, interpret later. Separate what you see from what you think it means. Instead of assuming someone is nervous, note the facts. They are tapping their foot, avoiding eye contact, and taking deep breaths. Only after gathering enough observations should you start making logical interpretations. Now that you know how to observe effectively, let's look at how Sherlock Holmes applies these principles to an extreme level. Sherlock Holmes isn't just a great detective. He's an expert in noticing what others ignore. Here's how he does it. White heavy checkmark 1. The Holmes scan. Sherlock doesn't just look at someone. He systematically scans them for clues. He notices small details like scuffed shoes, indicating frequent walking, or ink stains on fingers, suggesting a writer or student. Every little observation adds to the bigger picture. White heavy checkmark 2. The power of small details. He focuses on tiny inconsistencies. A person dressed in an expensive suit but with dirt under their nails? They likely do manual work, but are trying to present themselves as wealthy. A woman with a wedding ring but no tan line where it should be? Recently removed. White heavy checkmark 3. The power of silence. Most people fill silences with unnecessary words, but Sherlock listens. He gathers far more information by simply staying quiet and letting people talk. White heavy checkmark 4. Logical deduction. Finally, he puts all the pieces together. He doesn't assume, he follows the evidence. His conclusions seem like magic, but in reality, they result from careful observation and logical thinking. Now, it's your turn. The next time you're in a conversation, try this. Observe 3 small details about the person: how they're dressed, speak, and posture. Establish a baseline. Do they seem different than usual? Avoid jumping to conclusions too quickly. Interpret only after gathering enough observations. Once you start training your mind to observe like Sherlock Holmes, the world will never be the same. Suppose you found this helpful. Like it and subscribe for more content